Welcome to our September 26th County Council meeting. We'll begin with our public hearings.
Yes, sir.
Notice, excuse me, notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 26, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. prior to final action being taken to enter into a lease agreement for property owned by the county. The property in question is the portion of the property known as the Perimeter Center, and County Council is considering a lease agreement with the South Carolina Department of Corrections.
Is there anyone here for this? None? Thank you. I guess Cortland Avenue is not here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Next public hearing. Thank you, ma'am.
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 26, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. on an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 1153 Bexley Street to CRU Properties LLC and its assigns.
Nobody signed up to speak. Next one, please.
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 26, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. on an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 1535 Keswick Avenue to Sea Island Habitat for Humanity.
Nobody. Thank you. Next one, please.
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 26, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. on an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 2964 Marginal Road to Charleston Habitat for Humanity.
Nobody. Thank you. Next one, 1E. Thank you.
Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, September 26, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. on an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 1138 Oxbow Drive to Palmetto Community Developers, LLC.
Thank you. Next one, please.
Sure. And the next four we're going to do all together. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the County Council of Charleston County, South Carolina on September 26, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. to consider an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and among MD3PL LLC, Dogwood Propco, South Carolina LP, and Bentelli LLC, and Cosmos Granite Charleston LLC, LCG Logistics LLC, Defense Engineering Services LLC, and Wise Logistics Incorporated.
Thank you. That's got to be a record. Thank you. All right, public comments.
We do have 7 people signed up for public comments. The first person is Alex Jackson, followed by Travis Bedson.
Mr. Chair, I think we should try to make some accommodation, in this case. Yes, but we can't even see him, so I think that beyond that barrier, we need to make some additional accommodation in this case.
I think,
He's raising the chair up.
and I believe there's a table there to the side.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Alex Jackson. I am a current board member of the Disabilities Board of Charleston County, and I am asking to be reappointed to the board for the next term. I am a lifelong resident, Charlestonian of Charleston, and grew up in the West Ashley area. I attended the Charles Webb Center growing up, and I'm familiar of the organization and the great work that the Disability Board provides. I'm a product of what they do, and I'm grateful that I am able to continue to serve the board and the community of Charleston. I am also a major disability advocate here in Charleston, serving on the City of Charleston Mayor's Commission on Disability Issues and the Charleston County Parks Advisory Committee for Disability Issues. So I would like to continue to serve in making sure that we are inclusive of everyone with disabilities, both physically and non-physical, non-visible disabilities as well. I work full-time for the Department of Navy out on Joint Base Charleston as a public affairs specialist for what was SPAWAR, now the Naval Information Warfare Center Atlantic. So I want to continue to show people what's possible when living with a disability and just continue to be an advocate for those in our communities. Lastly, I would like to say that I'm grateful to serve on the Disabilities Board. My mother served on the board as well when I was growing up, so it's sort of been like a family legacy to continue to serve. And I'm just grateful to be one of the only few people in recent years to actually have a disability and serving on the board. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for your service. Thank you.
The next person is Travis Bedsar, and then Scott Barheit.
Penmanship was never one of my strengths. It's Bedson with an N. Sorry, my apologies. Well, I'm glad to know that I signed up in the right place, too. My name is Travis Bedson. I'm seeking an appointment to the Housing Development Board. Like any good servant, I think you need 3 points to make, so my points will be short and sweet. I think I'd be uniquely qualified for this position, one, because of executive leadership. I run a multi-million-dollar organization that covers from Virginia down to Florida, and I've had the pleasure to serve as CEO of that organization, C&T Foundations, for the past 15 years. 2, construction. This particular appointment requires vast construction experience as we try to solve some of the housing crisis needs we have. And 3, budgets. As part of my CEO duties, we have budgets that we have to maintain and account for, and this needs that same type of level of oversight. Lastly, to put a cherry on the top of it, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so God's been really good to me, and I'd like to have the opportunity to give back to my community, and I think this would be just a way that I feel that my natural talents would plug in nicely with the opportunities that are available to me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Scott Barheit, Josh Dix.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name is Scott Barheit. I'm the Senior Vice President for Government Relations for the Charleston Metro Chamber of Commerce, with offices at 4922 O'Hare Avenue in North Charleston. The Chamber is a long-time supporter of fair and efficient development processes, and as such, I'm here tonight to speak in support of the proposed amendments to the Historic Preservation Ordinance that you're considering. We understand that this will provide clear approval criteria and, most importantly, corrective language to create consistency with state law. We look forward to working with the council on the adoption of this legislation and would be happy to answer any questions. If not, that's the conclusion of my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Josh Dix, then Adrian Kane.
Good evening, Council. My name is Josh Dix. I'm the Government Affairs Director at the Charleston Trident Association of Realtors, and I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the Historic Preservation Amendments, and we are in support of the changes being recommended. Adding clarity and removing ambiguity in our zoning and approval process is a big step in the right direction when it comes to addressing housing issues in our region. During the Housing Our Future plan, some of those recommendations included addressing the regulatory climate, the costly delays add to the overall cost of housing, and we can respect property rights and cultural significance areas such as the historic settlement communities. We appreciate you addressing the unintended consequences of the original proposal and working to remedy this. We appreciate you taking those steps and the work that you do here, not just tonight, but every day that y'all serve. So thank you for your time and hearing us on this particular issue. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Adrian Kane, and then Filippo Ravalico.
Good evening, Council. Thank you so much for your leadership and dedication to our region. Adrian Kane, the CEO of the Charleston Home Builders Association. I too am here to speak on behalf of the proposed amendments to correct the unintended consequences. The best of intentions sometimes have things that create situations that are untenable in our community. And that's such the case. We've had our development process hijacked by special interest groups for far too long in our community. Intent not on building communities up, but rather by dividing our community and creating situations that violate property rights. I encourage Council to take steps immediately to rectify this and to provide a pathway that creates real economic prosperity, real opportunity for voice, and real opportunity to uplift communities in a way that truly creates economic opportunity, but without doing it in such a way that violates basic property rights, a basic tenet within our Constitution and within our country. Thank you all again for your leadership, your service, and for taking steps to remediate this situation.
Thank you, sir.
Filippo Ravalico, and then Richard Habersham.
Good evening, Filippo Ravalico, 510 Live Oak Drive, Mount Pleasant. I'm here to thank Councilman Member Kowalski for his brief but important comments on Thursday. It was very refreshing to hear an elected office holder remind everybody about the priorities on which he ran. And it's so important to hear those priorities voiced and acted upon in this room. You know, as soon as environmental resources and cultural protection priorities start inconvenience a few special interests, the lobbyist shows up. 1, 2, 3. You count 3 and here they are. And you start hearing that we are anti-development. Such a lazy thing to say. Let's be specific. There's good development, there's bad development, and there is context. Clear cutting is bad. Fill and build is bad. Doing either of those things atop of a salt marsh in 2023 is very bad. Abusing the land planning regulation is bad. Ignoring historic preservation rules is bad. If you do either of those things where the existing infrastructure is already failing, is very bad. And if you do any of the above in historic African American settlement communities, you're adding insult to injury. So, after 4 decades of explosive and very successful population and economic growth, good development, it takes a little more work. It's a little harder. It takes more ingenuity. It may also make a little less money than sheer land speculation and wanton destruction of natural systems. So, yes, we're against parasitic development. We are against malignant growth. And we trust in county leadership to protect the quality of life and improve the quality of life and the natural and cultural heritage that make it possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Richard Habersham.
Yes, I'm Richard Habersham from the Phillips community. I reside at 2938 Bennett Charles Road. Coming up here, I'd like to thank the staff, who put, the historical documents together, which I thought they did a really good job. But now, here's the only thing that I really have a problem with. I've read in the newspaper this week that this is the 3rd change to this document. First time I ever heard about that. The 3rd change. And the only thing this document, right now, it affects the African American community. Phillip, Beefield, 10 Mile. Those 3 communities are really affected. And it's the 3rd changes. We should have been at the table from the start to the finish. And getting with the development, we're not against development. Don't get us wrong, we're not against development, but we are against when you changing a whole community. That's the problem. Also, we're talking this archive and history. They say that our protection comes from the local level, not from the state or the federal level. It comes from the local level. So you have to have a strong document to help us preserve our community. Like the gentleman said, we want development, we want housing and everything. But in my community, $750,000 starting price, I'm sorry, I can't afford that. And a lot of people in my community cannot afford that. So the only way we're going to get some attainable houses is that we own the property and we don't get overdeveloped. When you get overdeveloped, taxes go up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Habersham. That's it. Before we deal with the next item, I wanted to let everybody know that I've decided to move the historic preservation ordinance discussions to our first full committee meeting, which is October 5th, which is our next meeting after this one, and the next council meeting, which immediately follows that, on October 10th. That way, all council members can be here. As you can see, Mr. Pryor's not here tonight. I also didn't think it was right that we should have both meetings in the same night. I think they should be separated by committees and then by the council meeting, which follows 5 days later. It allows every council member and other people to ask questions and find out information that may have come up from the first meeting. So if you don't, I just wanted to explain to you that it's not on the agenda tonight. It will be on the agenda on October 5th and October 10th. And also, Mr. Pryor is not here tonight, and I've decided that boards and commissions will be moved to the next meeting. So thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
One question, please, sir.
Yes, sir.
Prior to the October meeting about the commission and whatnot, were the two parties not to somehow get together to have conversation and bring it to us?
Well, I think that our planning commission and the historic commission have met. Isn't that correct, Mr. Evans?
Yeah, the planning commission has met and the historic preservation commission has met and reviewed the ordinance amendments. We've also met with representatives from the East Cooper settlement communities and went over the changes with them about 2 weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
But I was talking about the two opposing sides. I'm talking about the members of the community. I thought they were supposed to be in talks with the commission and the Preservation Society. I thought those two groups were going to get together to see what could be done as a term of compromise. Am I in error? And that's a council question, not for you, sir.
Right. I'm not sure how many members of the community have been to those meetings. I know there have been public comments at those meetings, but I don't believe there's been a public meeting just for people in the community to have that discussion.
We did.
Pardon me?
We did, actually, not out in the community. We had a meeting here with the representatives of all the settlement communities and
Oh, okay. That's okay. Correct. Thank you.
But again, I don't mean to belabor the time, but I thought there was supposed to be something brought before us in terms of a compromise between the two, and I haven't, and I don't see it. Again, am I in error?
This is a public hearing, so y'all haven't
Yeah.
taken any action.
I wasn't aware of that, sir. That they were that was gonna come back to us like that. I know they've met. I think the next issue is for us to have our meeting and discuss it, and we will have.
Yes, sir.
We will have legal advice, and we will have an open discussion out here about it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Moody, would you lead us in the prayer? And Mr. New Deputy, Mr. Thigpen, would you lead us in the pledge?
Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you very much. If we may bow our heads. Behold, how blessed we are to live in a nation whereby all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thanks, Holy Providence, for such a nation. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Freedom of Information Act.
In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meetings and agendas were posted, distributed to news media and persons requesting notification.
Excuse me. Approval of minutes, September
Move to
12th.
approve.
Second.
Moved by Reverend Middleton and seconded by Mr. Moody. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Number 3, recognitions and resolutions.
Move to approve 3A and B.
Second.
Moved by Reverend Middleton and seconded by Mr. Moody. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, request to adopt, are we going to read those?
Yes, sir. So Dr. Fincella is here from the Charleston Center, and we have a resolution of Charleston County Council, National Recovery Month, September 2023. Recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, every community. Whereas mental and/or substance use disorders affect all communities nationwide, but with commitment and support, people with these disorders can achieve healthy lifestyles and lead rewarding lives in recovery. And whereas by seeking help, people who experience mental and/or substance use disorders can embark on a new path toward improved health and overall wellness. And whereas the focus of National Recovery Month this September is to celebrate their journey by spreading the message in communities that behavioral health is essential to overall wellness and that prevention works, treatment is effective, and people recover. Now therefore be it resolved that Charleston County Council does hereby join in the observance and proclamation of the month of September as National Recovery Month, and also whereas addiction professionals are uniquely qualified frontline healthcare professionals, and whereas these dedicated professionals are committed to increasing public knowledge of addiction and to enhancing the care of individuals, families, and communities through treatment, education, and prevention programs. Now therefore be it resolved that Charleston County Council does hereby join in observance of and proclamation of September 20th, 2023 as Addiction Professionals Day. Charleston County Council, Herbert R. Sass III, Chairman.
Thank you. Would you like to say anything?
I would like to say a few words if you would let me. So as Chairman and members of Council and County Administrator and staff, thank you for the resolution for recognizing National Recovery Month and Addiction Professionals Day. We hear so often all of the dire statistics, and they are pretty dire as far as overdoses in our community. The data from 2019 to 2021 showed a 94% increase in fentanyl overdose deaths alone. And right now, overdose deaths is the leading cause of death for adults age 18 through 49, and overdose deaths outnumber deaths by car accidents, gun violence, and suicide. I work with a lot of our community partners and our county departments as far as EMS and coroner's office and our law enforcement sheriff's office and looking at overdoses in our community. And we look at data and enter data into a system called ODMAP, Overdose Detection Map. And I got this week's report, and it shows that every single day in the past 30 days we had an overdose, and only 3 days out of those 30 days was the only one overdose. And for the past week we had 37 overdoses and 8 fatalities. So it is a significant issue and crisis in our community. And it's really easy to lose hope when you hear numbers like that. But the great thing about September being National Recovery Month is it is an opportunity to focus on the hope that is there. We have great partnerships with multi-agency work and coordination in our community as far as tracking real-time data and getting information through targeted outreach in our community. Our EMS and coroner's office do fantastic work with Narcan Leave Behind programs, helping support our Narcan saturation plan. So that is fantastic. I have incredible addiction professionals that help focus on prevention, treatment, and recovery every single day. Sierra Geddes is our program administrator for our ADSAT program, so she helps people get their license back and helps people in treatment. Carolyn Gildersleeve is an amazing counselor in our adolescent program, and so she's working with students and schools and involved with DJJ to try to prevent them from continuing down the path of addiction and risking overdose death. And Melanie Mallard is one of our certified peer support specialists, so she's someone with lived experience who gives strength and hope and shows our patients that recovery is possible. And I cannot let tonight pass by saying that today is the anniversary of Melanie. It was Melanie's mom's birthday, and Melanie just buried her mom a couple of months ago, and we're just so grateful that her mom had the chance to see her daughter in long-term recovery and not be one of the statistics. So she gives me hope every day. I'm going to get tearful talking about this, but she gives our patients hope every day. These staff members are incredible. We've had a really tough year this year with overdose deaths and with our patients, with losing 2 beloved staff members, with moving to our beautiful new building that we're super grateful for, and then going through our CARF accreditation. So it was a lot on our plate, and they are so resilient and supportive of each other and our patients. And so I do want to just say that they helped us get through our CARF accreditation, which it was very stressful going through accreditation in the midst of all of that. And CARF is a commission for the accreditation of rehabilitation facilities, so they can either give you no accreditation, a 1-year accreditation, or a 3-year accreditation. And in June, we got a 3-year accreditation, which is we have consecutively received the 3-year accreditation since our initial accreditation in 1995. And we couldn't do it without phenomenal addiction professionals like the 3 amazing women standing up here with me tonight. So thank you so much for the resolution and allowing me some time to speak.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate what y'all do. Prescribed firearm awareness.
Yes, sir. We have Jennifer Tyrell from the Audubon Society. And Mr. Boykin is going to present the resolution. Resolution of Charleston County Council. Whereas Charleston County Council recognizes that prescribed fire provides multiple ecological, economic, and cultural benefits to the citizens of Charleston County, and whereas prescribed fire is the skilled application of fire under planned weather and fuel conditions to achieve specific forest and land management objectives, and whereas prescribed fire is a valuable tool used by forest landowners and managers in reducing hazardous fuels, reducing the risk of destructive fires, preparing sites for both natural and artificial forest regeneration, improving access to and the appearance of land, and controlling detrimental insects and forest diseases. And whereas prescribed fire is used to restore and maintain fire-dependent ecosystems, to manage wildlife habitat for many species, and to manage habitat for the game species such as white-tailed deer, wild turkey, and bobwhite quail, whose hunting economy is vital to South Carolina. And whereas prescribed fire helps keep South Carolina's forests healthy, and those forests in turn provide ecological services such as clean air and clean water, and contribute to the quality of life of the state's citizens and to local economies. And whereas prescribed fire practitioners provide public health benefits by burning under carefully planned weather conditions, reducing the unplanned smoke from wildfires, thus contributing to the air quality of South Carolina by promoting healthy forests that serve as airshed contributors. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Charleston County Council supports the appropriate and continued use of prescribed fire, recognizes the essential role fire plays in the stewardship of our natural resources, and urges air quality regulators to work closely with agencies and landowners in a fair and balanced approach to smoke management. Charleston County Council, Herbert R. Sass, III, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Third reading of ordinances.
Yes, sir. An ordinance approving and accepting the complete transfer of authority to conduct municipal elections for the City of Folly Beach to the Board of Elections and Voter Registration of Charleston County. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski? Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor's absent. Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Ordinance passes third reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent. And then item B is An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and among MD3PL SC LLC, Dogwood Propco SC 4 LP, and Charleston County, whereby Charleston County will enter into a fee in lieu of tax agreement with the companies and providing for payment by the companies of certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes and other matters relating thereto. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
No.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Warman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 7 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 absent. And item C is an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and among Bentelli LLC, Dogwood Propco, South Carolina, 4 LP, and Charleston County, whereby Charleston County will enter into a fee in lieu of tax agreement with the companies and providing for payment by the companies of certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes and other matters relating thereto. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
No.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor's absent. Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 7 ayes, 1 nay, 1 absent. And item D is an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and among Cosmos Granite Charleston LLC, LCG Logistics LLC, Defense Engineering Services LLC, Dogwood Propco SC 4 LP, and Charleston County, whereby Charleston County will enter into a fee in lieu of tax agreement with the companies and providing for payment by the companies of certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes and other matters relating thereto. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Nay.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 7 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 absent. And finally, item E is an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and among Wise Logistics Incorporated, Dogwood Propco, SC4 LP, and Charleston County, whereby Charleston County will enter into a fee in lieu of tax agreement with the companies and providing for payment by the companies of certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes and other matters relating thereto. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Nay.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 7 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
Okay. Second reading ordinances, financial incentives for Lidos, Inc.
Okay. An ordinance authorizing the approval of Lidos, Inc. as sponsor affiliate under the fee in lieu of tax agreement between Charleston County, South Carolina, and Sun Life Assurance Company of Canada, originally dated October 27th, 2015, as amended and assigned, authorizing the extension of the term thereof, authorizing the issuance of certain special source revenue credits thereunder, and other matters related thereto. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Madam Clerk,
Yes, sir.
may I ask a question, Mr. Chairman? Is it permissible for me to ask a question?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. We have always trusted the thoughts and the judgment of Mr. Dykes, but to the point, I would like to know how much we are giving in terms of fee in lieu. And I know we can't do it public, but would you be able to share that with me at some time soon, sir?
Certainly, we can do that. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm going to vote yes, but I think it's something that we need to really discuss in the future. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
part of it, when you meet people in the public, we've read all this and we know what's in there, but part of what we do is, I think, in transparency, when people watch this and it's open to the public, they really don't have a clue what we're talking about. Is there any way to put on the record what the financial incentives are in this, so when anybody would know what we're voting on, they would have a clue of what we're voting to give these people? Is that fair to ask, Kurt?
Yes, it's part of the agenda packet that we put out on our website.
Right, it's in the agenda.
I just question how many people watching this will actually go through all that. I like it is when we vote on things so that people listening or watching, because that's what's intended, would have a better idea. Because I'm often asked that. We have meetings and we vote kind of in uniformity to do things, and a lot of people don't have a clue what we're voting on. We do because we've read it, but we also, it's not just, we represent the spending of public money, and I feel anything we can do so that people would readily understand what we're voting on would be advisable. Is there a way to briefly explain these incentives so that anybody watching would understand it? Is that fair to ask? Yes,
It's
sir.
all public. Yes, sir, Mr. Dykes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we've got much of that information in the write-up. Now, it could be that portraying that on the screen, for example, maybe that's an answer, to put these metrics up on the screen, and the viewing audience would be able to see, exactly what's happening.
Right.
That's one thought.
That is, thank you. We'll discuss that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Where were we, Ms. Salisbury?
Let's see, on second reading, I've already read the title. Mr. Boykin, Mr. Darby have voted, so it's Mrs. Honeycutt.
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski,
Nay.
Mr. Middleton,
Aye.
Mr. Moody,
Aye.
Mr. Werman,
Aye.
Mr. Sass.
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 7 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
Okay. 5B, conveyance of approximately 0.09 acre vacant lot at 1153 Bexley Street, second reading.
An ordinance authorizing the conveyance of real property totaling approximately .09 acres located at 1153 Bexley Street, parcel identification number 47007000248 to Crew Properties LLC. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt? Aye. Mr. Kabrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent.
Okay, 5C, Charleston Home Program, 1535 Keswick Drive.
An ordinance authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 1535 Keswick Drive totaling approximately 0.37 acres, parcel identification number 27907000083 to Sea Island Habitat for Humanity. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent.
5D, Charleston Home Program, 1138 Oxbow Drive, second reading.
An ordinance authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 1138 Oxbow Drive totaling approximately 0.52 acres, parcel identification number 42802000090 to Palmetto Community Developers LLC. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Werman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent.
5E, Charleston Home Program, 2964 Marginal Drive, second reading.
An ordinance authorizing the conveyance of real property located at 2964 Marginal Drive totaling approximately 0.37 acres, parcel identification number 30710000050 to Charleston Habitat for Humanity Incorporated. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Werman? Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Number 6, committee recommendations with
Move for
first
committee
reading ordinance.
recommendation.
Approval.
Pardon me?
Money
I
cut.
said move for committee recommendation.
Moved by Mr. Moody, seconded
Cut.
by Ms. Honeycutt. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You're reading. Okay. An ordinance rezoning the real property located at 830 Kiowa Island Parkway, parcel identification number 20500000365 and 20500000356 from the low-density residential R4 zoning district to the Andale West Commercial Plan Development PD 185 zoning district.
Thank you. Number 7, consent agenda.
To approve 7A through G.
Second.
Moved by Reverend Middleton, seconded by Mr. Moody. Any questions about these individually? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Finance Committee recommendations, 8A and B.
Move for committee recommendations
Second.
A and B.
Moved by Mr. Moody, seconded by Ms. Honeycutt. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Now we come to council comments.
Here, you said you were holding up the boards and commissions until he returns. He's here.
Well, the people who were here to discuss that, I think, have left. And Mr. Pryor, we decided since you weren't here, we would not vote on this tonight. We would come back to the next meeting.
Is somebody planning on changing something? Because I thought the quorum rule was once it leaves out of committee, then we vote on whatever comes out of committee without any changes. And so unless something has changed, I don't see no reason to wait. We may as well just go ahead and vote for it, because that's what we had years ago, and that's what council agreed to. For you, the chairman, if you want to put it off to the next meeting, but
I'd like to put it off to the next meeting.
I hope we would stick to that the quorum that we have of when it comes out of committee, it goes straight to council and those folks are elected, based on they came out of committee.
Thank you.
So may I also ask, if it were already voted out of committee, then we're deferring it.
Well, I think we are deferring it because the chairman has given his word to the public that we're not going to vote until a later date. And I think once the chairman has spoken, I think
Sorry, he said that we were going to vote on it because Mr. Pryor was absent.
Right.
And then Mr. Pryor is here.
But there were some people here that would have been for part of that and left. We can.
I'm good with waiting. I'm good with waiting. If you want to do that, I'm fine with waiting, and we can discuss it. But if we're going to hold true to our word, we have to be true to our word.
Yes, sir.
And because if not, it's going to open up the door for somebody else who say they didn't get appointed, and then they're going to come back and says, "Well, I'll do the same thing." That's why we started this, because it was creating so much confusion. And I think the gentleman in question, I did nominate that gentleman, but he didn't make the process.
Right.
But I did nominate all the incumbents and then a new lady.
Right.
Then also based on the number of people who just left, I mean, that would not necessarily constitute every single seat, every single position. Some of those people weren't here anyway.
Right. All right. Well, if y'all would like to have the vote tonight, let's.
move for committee recommendations A
Second.
through E.
A through E. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The ayes have it. Thank you. Council comments? Reverend Middleton?
Thank you very much. Very nice to be here.
Mr. Moody?
Nothing, just thank Mr. Pryor for keeping his attendance perfect.
Can you get here?
Mr. Darby?
Mr. Dykes, I didn't mean to shoot you a curve, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, Larry. I did not see you there. I know you have something you want to say.
Today, there were some very disturbing things east of the Cooper. In many of our neighborhoods today, there were very vile and racist and anti-Semitic things left in people's driveway. But I'd like to say that, when no other place probably in America has been hospitable to Jews as Charleston ever since pre-colonial times. In fact, it was the largest Jewish community in the country up until about 1800. And, it's especially vile because we had our High Holy Days this weekend. It was probably meant to coincide with that. And it's ironic because we spent all of yesterday acknowledging that the ability to hate and despise and fear others is in all of us because we're human. And I was always taught that when you experience something like this or hear it, it reflects not on you, but on the person who does it. And also to understand that the person who expresses and spends their time doing such things and dwelling on it must have a very miserable existence. Not that you feel empathy for somebody like that, but to understand that the ability to evilness exists in all of us because we're human. And it's just reflects on them, but in no way of the people that live here. We don't know who did that, and the people in the communities where that was left responded very positively, and as did our mayor in Mount Pleasant. And it speaks very well of our community, how people respond to hate and intolerance. And, especially, as I have always said, in America, no other place in the history since our entire diaspora has been as hospitable and welcoming to us as this country, and in Charleston in particular. So this was not reflective of any way of people who live here, but reflects well on how people reacted, including our community leaders. And I just want to acknowledge them and to thank them for that. Thank you. Sorry, my voice is kind of weak for various reasons, but I wanted to let people know how I felt, because it did happen in my district, and I am Jewish, and to thank Charleston County and South Carolina and America for being the best place that, again, and hospitable to us and welcoming in the history of the world since in our entire diaspora. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Werman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to Mr. Kabrowski. This is the first I heard of that, but that certainly is disturbing. And my thoughts are certainly with the Jewish community and with yourself. And I, have unfortunately seen similar distributions and stuff in North Charleston, not recently, but I've certainly seen that, and it's it's a grim reminder that. We've certainly made a lot of progress on a lot of issues, but there are folks who have some vile ideas out there still. So thank you for that reminder. And again, my thoughts are with you. I did want to highlight on a more positive note, Mr. Boykin and I were able to attend a conference hosted by the Chamber of Commerce out in Austin to kind of learn a few things that they're doing. Addressing a lot of the similar issues that we face here with traffic and housing and affordability and development. Was a really good experience, a lot of great ideas, and I would just again thank the Chamber for that opportunity, and also just say that it was energizing. So reinvigorated to do some good work for our community. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pryor?
No, sir, I've talked all day, so I don't need, I got another day. I just want to go home and get some rest. Thank you. Sorry for being late, but I'm here.
Glad you're here.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Boykin?
I would like to also echo Councilmember Wehrman's remarks regarding the leadership conference the Chamber put on. It was a first-class operation and a great learning opportunity for both of us, and hopefully we can bring some of those ideas back to Charleston. I would also invite everyone to please join me in keeping Mayor Steve Tumbleston in your prayers and thoughts. His mother passed away last week.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Honeycutt?
I just wanted to say thank you to our Community Development Department. Again, I think we had a very productive meeting with CAJM advocates who have been before us numerous times, and I think we really are on the same page and have done some incredible things with our resources from ARPA and just the development of our overall housing plan. We've been very thoughtful and intentional, and I think that will yield great benefit in the long run. And I wanted to let Mr. Darby know, in case he didn't see his email, that we have rescheduled the Archer School. I guess it's going to be a public meeting, so you're welcome to attend. We hope you will be there.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. The Salisbury Peter ma'am.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Mr. Pryor?
And I'd be remiss if I didn't. I'd like to ask this body to keep the family of Representative David Mack, who passed away on, I think it was Monday or either Sunday night. You know, he was a icon and a joint in his community. You know, he was involved in from politics to activism, you name it, he did it. And his funeral services will be Saturday, and viewing will be on Friday. But I just want us to keep his family in prayer, because David was a great fellow and he was a great, you know, individual. He didn't see color, he didn't see party, he just wanted to do what was right for people.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor. Mr. Administrator?
Nothing here, sir.
Ms. Attorney? No, sir. Well, thank you, everybody, for tonight. Sorry about senseless things that happen. Mr. Porofsky, I know it happens to every community. Sorry about that. We don't like that. I would like to say that I'm reminded daily of all the good things that people that work for this county do, whether it's drug intervention or housing or roads and everything else. We have a lot of people that do a lot of good, and I really appreciate working with y'all and being a small part of that. I think that we do have an awful lot to be proud of. Thank you all very much. Good night.